Restrictions for unvaccinated people ease in New South Wales today as the 95% double dose target nears very close now. Mask and QR code check-in rules will also change for retail businesses, bringing mixed emotions. So let's go to the Australian Retailers Association CEO Paul Zahra. He joins us live now. Paul, good to see you. Thanks for your time as always. So let's start with the freedoms for the unvaccinated today. How do you and businesses feel about that?
Well, we think it's a great celebration, to be honest. I think New South Wales people have done such a great job in getting the jab. We're one of the highest vaccinated cities in the world. So, in fact, it's a moment of celebration today. And you know, going into the Christmas period, where up to 2/3 of a discretionary retailer's profits are made, reducing those or eliminating those density quotients and opening up completely is a great milestone for retailers in this all-important Christmas trading period.
What if workers do, for whatever reason, feel uncomfortable about it? What options are there for them?
You mean if they're unvaccinated or if they're vaccinated?
If they're vaccinated and unvaccinated, for that matter.
Well, look, we're following expert advice, and the expert advice was once we reached that 95% mark, thereabouts, that we would reach herd immunity and that would be all safe. So we're following that expert advice, and you know, for that reason alone, we're actually quite happy to accept that advice as we have through the whole pandemic. So you know, it's a good sign of actually us all working together to get to this outcome.
Okay, so say you've got a staffer, front of house hospitality, and they're vaccinated, but they've got unvaccinated people coming in. Your members who are talking to you, they're not too concerned about that.
Well, no, they're not. But of course, there's got to be those types of incidences, and we'll have to treat them on a case-by-case situation. But it is the absolute minority, it's not the majority. So for that reason, it can be managed.
Yeah, no, I do admit that we're talking about a small minority here. So, I mean, businesses can still police it if they want to.
Well, it'll be going against public health orders, but yes, they can. Of course, they can make those decisions, and then they will need to get the appropriate advice for their particular situation. It depends on the type of category of business that they're operating, of course. So, you know, again, all in all, today is great news.
Yeah. QR codes gone too. Are you relieved about that?
Well, look, it's interesting in New South Wales. They were well adopted and well socialised, and I think everyone's going to miss them, oddly enough. But yes, absolutely. Any obstruction to or additional tasks for a frontline staff member is welcome. So the QR codes, the mask wearing. Now, they're still required in some settings, but not in a general retail or essential retail situation.
It's just going to speed things up, isn't it, Paul?
Oh, definitely, because, you know, you can imagine when you're shopping in a shopping centre, having to go to check in and check out in every single shop that you went to, particularly during the Christmas period. It's very frustrating for people, often having to queue to do that check-in. So, it's a great sign. And again, the people of New South Wales should be absolutely congratulated for their achievement. This is a real milestone today.
I've got to agree with you on that point. I did my Christmas shopping last week, Paul, and I went to a Westfield, and you had to check in through the car park when you come through the car park, and then any individual store you had to check in for all of those as well, which is per the health orders. And by the end of it, I gave up. I went to a pub and just went home.
Well, that's the point. So we don't want that to happen, of course. You know, there's high anxiety levels generally at this time of the year. People are trying to get through their absolute shopping list. So having those restrictions removed is going to be welcomed by retailers and consumers, of course.
How are you going with staffing at the moment?
Oh, look, it's been absolutely problematic. I've never seen anything like this in my entire career, and I've been in the industry for a long time. But the absence of migrant workers and international students has really exposed the industry. We're seeing restaurants, cafes, some shops just not being able to open on certain days or nights, restricting their trading hours. You can feel it often in a store. The service levels are not quite right, and they should be at this time of the year. And that's purely because we just don't have the staff to do the work. And those people that are working, you know, they're dealing with customer aggression, there's high anxiety, and on top of that, they're having to work a little bit, not a little bit, but certainly harder than they would normally have to do. So we're hoping that with the borders coming down, that will relieve us somewhat, but we are only, you know, Christmas Eve is next Friday, so we're pretty close.
There's going to be a lag period. I mean, you've got the borders for those international students and skilled migrants that reopen today, Paul, but I mean, it's not going to be a quick fix, is it? There's going to be a lag period.
Absolutely, Peter. So the floodgates are not going to open immediately. There'll be still some hesitancy from people visiting, leaving their own country, of course. And it won't mean that, people arriving, they may have to go into some form of quarantine. There's a delay. They may not be able to hit the ground running. This is the last 2 weeks of the Christmas trading period. Unfortunately, it's a little too late. But, in saying that, it's still great to know that those borders have come down and that we will have some relief in the new year.
Okay, Paul, Zahra, good to get you with us. As always, talk to you soon.
You're welcome.